Okay, what if I told you that you could get twice the amount of work done in literally half the time? It sounds kind of crazy, right? But there's a framework out there that's so effective. It's used by everyone from the FBI trying to prevent national disasters to startups building 100-mile-per-gallon cars. So today, we're going to break down exactly how it works. To really get why this is such a game changer, we have to start with a massive, massive failure. After 9/11, investigations revealed a shocking truth. The FBI couldn't connect the dots because its systems were just dangerously old. I mean, we're talking about agents still filing paper reports and circling keywords with red pens. The information that could have stopped the attack was there, it was just buried in paperwork. So they tried to fix it, they tried to modernize. Their first big project was a system called the virtual case file. They spent 3 years and $170 million of your taxpayer money on it, and the result? Absolutely nothing. Not a single usable line of code. It was a complete and total disaster. Now, you have to understand, a failure this big isn't just a fluke. It's not just bad luck. It's a symptom of a fundamentally broken way of working that is still, to this day, deeply embedded in so many companies and organizations. And the main culprit has a name. It's called the waterfall method. And you can see why it's so seductive, right? It feels logical. You do step A, then you do step B, then C. Everything is planned out in these massive, beautiful, detailed documents before anyone writes a single line of code or hammers a single nail. But here's the brutal, honest truth. The very moment those perfect plans meet the real world, they completely shatter. And the crazy part is, instead of adapting or changing the plan, the old way of doing things is to just pretend the plan is still working. You just keep updating these charts and graphs that have become a complete fantasy. So get this, the FBI's second attempt to modernize also went completely off the rails. At that point, they were finally forced to try something radically different. They had to find a whole new way of thinking. This new way is called Agile, and it basically takes that waterfall method and flips it right on its head. It says, forget about those rigid plans, let's just respond to change as it happens. Forget about all our internal processes, let's actually talk to the customer constantly. It's all about valuing flexibility over formality. Now, Agile is a mindset, right? It's a philosophy. But the most popular way to actually do Agile, to put it into practice, is a framework called Scrum. And yeah, it's named after that formation in rugby where the whole team locks together and moves down the field as one single fast-moving unit. So how does this actually work? What does it look like day to day? Well, it all starts with the most fundamental thing, the team. See, Scrum is built on this really simple but powerful observation about what makes a great team. You give them a transcendent purpose, something they really care about. You give them the autonomy to figure out how to achieve it. And, this is key, you put all the skills they need to get the job done right there in the room. No waiting for other departments, no handoffs. And here's the part that messes with everyone's head. Smaller is faster. The magic number is about 7 people, give or take 2. If you add more people, the lines of communication just get way too complicated and the team actually slows down. That's right. Adding more people can actually make you later. Okay, next up. Scrum completely changes our entire relationship with time. It gets rid of these long, endless marathon projects and replaces them with short, focused bursts of really intense work. All the work happens in these short, fixed-length cycles called sprints, usually 1 to 4 weeks. And here is the absolute most important rule. At the end of every single sprint, the team has to have a finished, usable piece of the product, something real, something you can actually see, touch, and get feedback on. So every sprint has this really predictable rhythm, this beat. You start by planning the work you're going to do, and at the end, you have 2 key meetings. One to review what you actually built, and another to reflect on how you can work better together in the next sprint. It's a learning cycle that's baked right into the process. The daily heartbeat of that sprint is a super quick 15-minute meeting called the daily stand-up. The whole team gets together and just syncs up by answering 3 simple questions. Now, this isn't a status report for a manager. It's a promise, a commitment that each team member makes to each other to keep the work moving forward. And finally, Scrum just completely throws out those 100-page fantasy plans. It totally changes how we decide what to work on in the first place. It works based on a simple truth you see everywhere in life. In pretty much any product, 80% of the value for the customer comes from just 20% of the features. So what does Scrum do? It relentlessly, ruthlessly forces you to focus on building that valuable 20% first. This whole idea is powered by a concept that comes from, of all places, fighter-pilot strategy. It's called the OODA loop. You observe what's happening, you orient yourself with the new data, you decide what to do, and you act. The sprints are basically the engine that lets a team run through this loop over and over and over so they can learn and adapt way faster than their competition. So instead of these huge, boring, technical documents, all the work is framed in these simple user stories. The format itself is brilliant. It forces everybody, the engineers, the designers, everyone, to think from the customer's point of view, making sure that every single thing you do is delivering real value to a real person. All right, so let's circle back to where we started, back to the FBI. Did this whole new way of thinking, this Scrum thing, did it actually fix their $100 million disaster? Oh yeah, it didn't just fix it, it absolutely crushed it. By bringing the project back in-house and using Scrum, the FBI delivered the hardest half of the entire project using less than 1/10 of the remaining budget in a fraction of the time and with a tiny, tiny team. They proved this thing works, even in the most high-stakes environment imaginable. So what really drove them? It was a massive culture shift, one inspired by Teddy Roosevelt's famous Man in the Arena speech. The team stopped worrying about outside critics and instead just focused on getting their hands dirty, on being the ones in the arena, delivering a system that the agents in the field desperately needed. And you've got to understand, this is so much bigger than just software. Scrum is a framework for accelerating pretty much any complex human project. It's being used to renovate houses on time and on budget. It's used to teach chemistry in schools more effectively. It's even being used to help farmers in Uganda double their income. Which really just leaves us with one final question for you. Scrum seems to be a fundamentally better way for human beings to work together on tough problems. It values respect, collaboration, and delivering real results fast. So, think about it. What part of your own work, or hey, even your life, is stuck in one of those rigid, old-school waterfalls? What could you transform if you applied just a little bit of Scrum?